What if you overcame analysis paralysis? What if you combated overthinking and stopped it once and for all by changing the way you approach it? Instead of beating yourself up, instead of grinding, instead of forcing, instead of being mad at yourself and feeling ashamed, what if you lifted that weight off by approaching this mission with compassion instead of force? What if you pretended like you were giving advice to your best friend? What if you pretended you were giving advice to your younger self when you were a little thing? What if that flip of the switch actually helped you achieve your ultimate goal, which is finally overcoming your anxiety, your overthinking, your analysis paralysis, and actually unlocking that next version of yourself and actually stepping one by one into the life that you so desire and crave, which is why you're overanalyzing things in the first place. Welcome back to episode 3 of The Luxury of Discipline, where I hope to show you that discipline is the structure to a beautiful life, and luxury is a feeling of grounded, elevated sense of being fully alive. Because you do not have to be perfect. You just have to show up step by step, ritual by ritual, choice by choice. I seek to show you how to romanticize routines, fall in love with structure, and make devotion your lifestyle so that you can fully experience the luxury of discipline. All right. We have talked about giving yourself permission in episode 1. We have talked about perfectionism in episode 2. And this time we're going to talk about overthinking and analysis paralysis. And to do that, I actually want to read you the definition of analysis paralysis, because I think it's a real eye-opener when you actually realize some of the threads that sew together to make the recipe that is analysis paralysis. Analysis paralysis is caused by overthinking a situation to the point where no decision is made. Gosh, have I been there. Often due to the fear of making the wrong choice. This can result from one of two things. Number 1, having too many options, leading to overwhelm and exhaustion, or from perfectionism, where one strives to make the perfect decision. Fear of failure, fear of judgment, and desire to gather excessive information before acting can also contribute. External pressures such as deadlines or high expectations can amplify anxiety further, which only perpetuates the paralyzing decision-making abilities. In the end, this cognitive overload causes indecision and stagnation. Oh, that word stagnation eats at me from such a deep level, because I never want to be the reason why I am stuck, although I have deeply, deeply, rawly felt that experience. And this is why I hope me sharing this one key will help you just as much as it helped me. So in approaching overcoming analysis paralysis with love, compassion, gentleness, kindness, and care, the first unlock I seek to give to you is to just run the experiment. Studying science throughout my undergrad and grad school career has made me perhaps biased to this idea of life as an experiment. But when I first heard this, I realized this was the key I was missing. What if you asked yourself to approach life or your choices that you need to make like an experiment, with a sense of wonder, with a sense of curiosity, with a sense of intrigue, to know that when running an experiment, what you will get is data. No matter what, by running the experiment, you're going to get data. Whether you particularly like that data or not is besides the point. What matters most is by framing a choice as an experiment, it takes off the pressure of having to make a permanent change. What if you experimented with going to the gym in the morning instead of trying to go after work? What if you experimented with having something light and refreshing for lunch instead of the perhaps faster food choices you typically make? What if you experimented with wearing more dark, sultry makeup instead of the light or perhaps no makeup that you typically wear? What if you curled your hair instead of straightening it because you've always straightened it? What if you decided to go to a different country that you usually don't vacation in because you're just running the experiment? What if you decided to start saying a few different words and adding to your vocabulary, or changing the way in which you say hello to strangers? It is all an experiment, and it's up to you to run it. This sense of framing things as an experiment set me free because it allowed me to ask, why not try? Clearly, the way I was doing was not working. Overanalyzing everything, feeling paralyzed, overthinking, feeling anxious, feeling overwhelmed. Whatever I was doing to feel those things wasn't working to solve the problem that I was trying to tackle, which was making a decision, because I feared making the wrong choice. I feared not succeeding in the way that I hoped for. And yet the answer was there all along, because holding on to that current way of doing things wasn't working, and feeling that weight and pressure that I was self-imposing on myself wasn't working anymore, which is why I want to set you free by reminding you that when you run an experiment, when you try something new, experiment with things that are new, in that essence, it will feel unfamiliar. It will feel unknown, unpredictable, uncertain, uncomfortable, whatever word you feel and resonate with most. Then remind yourself of that in those moments where you are running the experiment, when you are collecting data, and instead invoke a sense of curiosity, being like, this is uncomfortable, this is unfamiliar, I don't know this, I haven't experienced this before, and that's okay. I'm curious though. Sense of awe and wonder, like a child going on a scavenger hunt, is just filled with excitement, even though it's something new, even though there's mystery, even though there's perhaps danger in the adventure. When you approach with a sense of curiosity and run the experiment with a sense of wonder, you will understand that that is the easiest, simplest way to relieve some of that pressure, to let some of the air out of the balloon. An experiment that you could frame is, what if life was a movie? Because remember, however you're doing it now isn't working and it's making you unhappy. What's the worst that could happen if you just try a new way, and if you just experimented? And what if you just pretended that life was a movie? What if life was a movie and you're the director and you get to just sit back and watch how it unfolds? Having that bird's eye view automatically takes the pressure off and kind of invokes a sense of excitement, because you're just sitting back and watching a movie, just like you may do if you watch a movie, a TV show. You're so engrossed in it, and you know it's not about you, and you know you're just watching characters and the story unfold of the characters on the screen. So what if you approached your life with the same sense of objectivity almost? And if you zoomed out in that way, you may perhaps see that it relieves that pressure, that paralysis, because it's not that deep. It's not that heavy, because it's just a movie. And if you were observing a scene unfolding, how would you want it to unfold? You can experiment with that. Maybe you could go to your local supermarket and decide to say hello to a stranger. Maybe you could take a different workout class in a new part of town. Maybe you could go to a new class, a painting class, a music class, a dance class, and it's just a movie. So it's one night in your life, it's one afternoon in your life, and it's just a movie, and you get to hit play and see what happens, and then it's done. Then you can go back to your life and go back to your overthinking, your analysis paralysis, and you haven't had to make a permanent change, and there's less pressure because it's just a movie. And there's a sense of joy in that. There's a sense of excitement, energy, enthusiasm I personally feel about the idea of simply collecting data through my experiments, through framing this whole big thing called life as an experiment. It feels good. And when you collect data, you're able to refine. You're able to refine your approach. Perhaps you do try a new workout and it was uncomfortable and you were left sore for days, and maybe you didn't nourish yourself. So next time you can nourish yourself a little better and perhaps get more protein in that day than you did the first time you experimented. And if I could just ask one favor, it's please try more than once. Please try the thing more than once, because the first time is going to feel the most uncomfortable, the most foreign, and the most unfamiliar. The second time, a little less. The third, a little less. That's all I ask of you. don't give up after one try. Don't throw in the towel after one try. Don't convince yourself, oh, that's not for me. Yeah, I tried it. How many times? Once. You know better than to try things once. So please don't convince yourself that something is or is not for you if you've only tried it once. I know that it's easy to do, but I trust in your strength to at least try something 3 times and refine each one of those times to change the experiment just slightly, not too much, just changing 1 or 2 variables as we do in science so that you can accurately measure the change and the effect of that through the data you then continue to collect. When you have this openness to discover, there's this sense of exploration in running an experiment and openness that doesn't feel as heavy and overwhelming as trying to gather all the information beforehand, trying to connect the dots so that you can make the perfect decision, because you'll never know everything, even if you falsely convince yourself of otherwise. And so think with me right now. What is the one experiment that you could run this week? Is it at work? Is it in your personal life? Is it going on a date with someone who usually isn't your type? Maybe. Whatever it is, just pick one thing and run the experiment. Press play on the movie and see how it feels. And remember, you can always go back to the old way. There's no pressure. This is the gentle, easy, fun, adventurous way to approach overcoming analysis paralysis, to approach finally releasing yourself of the obsession around overthinking, because you'll realize that you were doing it in the first place to serve yourself. You were doing it because you want the best for yourself. So maybe running the experiment might unlock that best thing for you, that next best experience, that next best opportunity, version of yourself. However deep on the scale you want to take it, it could be the key that you were looking for over all this time and why you've been so obsessed with analyzing, with overthinking. So giving yourself compassion. Thank you, brain, for doing that thing you do so well. We're going to change things up and we're going to run an experiment. So thank you for listening to episode 3 of The Luxury of Discipline. And I look forward to running more experiments with you.